Okay, let's take a look at curve sketching now. Okay, curve sketching is pretty much finding the stationary points in their nature and then just bringing it all together at the end to then sketch the curve. Okay, so first bit here, I want to state the coordinates of where the curve cuts the x and y axis. So to do that, simple thing, I'll say when x equals, or I'll start that again. Say that it cuts the x-axis, and you should know this from National 5, cuts the x-axis when y is equal to 0. So that gives us 2x cubed minus 3x squared is equal to 0. So that'll be x squared bracket 2x minus 3 equals 0. So x is 0 and x is 3/2. Okay. Cuts the y-axis when x is equal to 0. So that's going to be y is equal to 2 times 0 cubed minus 3 times 0 squared, which is going to give us 0. So it cuts the axis at 0, 0 at the origin for x and y, and also at the point 3/2, 0. Okay, so let's just put them here in a box so that they're easy to find later. Find stationary points, so I want to go ahead and differentiate. So dy by dx is equal to 6x squared minus 6x. We know that for stationary points, this happens when dy by dx is equal to 0. So that gives us 6x squared minus 6x is equal to 0. So that'll be 6x bracket x minus 1 equals 0. So x has to be 0 and x has to be 1. Find the corresponding y values. So I'll say when x is equal to 0, if I put that in, I also get y is equal to 0. When x is equal to 1, y is equal to 2 times 1 cubed minus 3 times 1 squared. So it's 2 take away 3, which is minus 1. So therefore, our stationary points are 0, 0, and 1 minus 1. Let's go get our nature table. So we are going to be approaching that value of 0, approaching 1, and leaving 1. Put in the dy by dx and the shape. Put in your zeros. Pick values before, between, and after. So before 0 we get minus 1. Between 0 and 1 we have a half. After 1 we have 2. Okay. Sub these values into the derivative. So it's going to be 6 plus 6, which is 12. So it's going to be positive. Put a half in. A half squared is a quarter. So it's going to give me 3 over 2 take away 3, which is negative. And put 2 in. 2 squared is 4. 24 take away 12, which is positive. So the curve is going up, along, down, along, and up. So I've got a maximum turning point at the point 0, 0, and a minimum turning point at 1 minus 1. Okay, so that's all we need. We know where it cuts the x-axis, we know where it cuts the y-axis, we know the stationary points in their nature. All we need to now do is actually sketch the curve. Okay, so let's go ahead and sketch. So, label your axis. That's the y-axis. That's the x-axis. 0. Okay, so it's cutting the x and y-axis at 0, 0. We're cutting the x-axis also at 3/2, 0, which is just 1.5. I've got a maximum turning point at 0, 0. I've got a minimum turning point at 1, minus 1. And then let's go ahead and just sketch it. Ignore my dog's barking. So it looks like that. Okay. So that will be the curve of y is equal to 2x cubed minus 3x squared. Okay.